videos. So today our topic of discussion is the difference between combination reaction and what is decomposition reaction. So talking about combination reaction, combination means combining two things. There must be something that is combining together. So if it is a reaction, then obviously reaction is going on. So what can be combined in the reaction? Elements. Two elements can combine to form a product. Element and a compound can combine to form a product, and one compound will combine with another compound to again form a product. So in our daily life also, you must have seen that while whitewashing, in whitewashing we use calcium oxide, right? The formula of calcium oxide is CaO. So when this calcium oxide, we mix water with it to make a paste so that we can apply on the walls for whitewashing. So when we add water into it, then what will we get? We will get calcium hydroxide. This is called slaked lime. This one is called quicklime. So when we add water into it, it will form slaked lime. So this is also an example of combination reaction. And this slaked lime, when we pour it on the walls, this will combine with carbon dioxide from the air and results in the formation of calcium carbonate, which is further called limestone. So this is also an example of combination reaction, where firstly quicklime added into water to form slaked lime. Here we can see two compounds combine to form a slaked lime, and again this slaked lime combined with the compound to form limestone. So this is an example of combination reaction. There can be so many more examples which we will discuss over here. So what are the other examples? Let's start from the easy ones. We can take carbon, we can combine it with oxygen. This is called burning of carbon or combustion reaction, burning of coke. So when it combines with oxygen, it will form carbon dioxide. As it is a combustion reaction, so it will be formed along with lot of heat and light. So lot of heat and light would be emitted. Then we have the burning of methane. Methane is also a greenhouse gas. So when it combines with oxygen, so what will be formed? Carbon dioxide, water along with heat. So this is also a combination reaction. Here methane, this one is methane, it combines with oxygen. You can balance it if you want, like hydrogen. Here there are 2 atoms of hydrogen, here there are 4, so you can put 2 over here. By doing this, oxygen also has 2 plus 2, 4 atoms, so you can put it like this, 2 to the 4. You can balance this equation like this. So here burning of methane is also a combination reaction. There are so many other, like you can take hydrogen combines with chlorine in the presence of sunlight to form 2HCl, hydrogen chloride, combination reaction. Iron combine with sulfur to form iron sulfide, also a combination reaction. Next is hydrogen combine with oxygen to form water, again a combination reaction, as hydrogen is a gas. So when it combines with a gas which is oxygen, it will result in the change in state also, because here it is water which is in liquid form. So all these are combination reaction. So what is actually happening in combination reaction? We are taking any atom or a compound, it reacts with another atom, compound or an element to form, it combines with each other. It combines with each other, that's why we call it combination reaction. So many examples you can give in this combination reaction, but the examples should be valid also, right? Take care of this thing. So next, let's talk about decomposition reaction. Decomposition, you can say it reverse of combination, right? You must have heard about fission and fusion. Fusion means when two or more things combine, resulting in the formation of a one thing, big thing. Fusion, right? Fission means splitting. Split हो जाती हैं, like compound split होके elements, atoms और compounds आगे further form करता है. That is called decomposition reaction. So talking about decomposition reaction, here what will happen? Here this compound will split up into two or more atoms. Decompose means splitting, breaking of the bonds. So you know, breaking of bonds is not as that much easy what like we think. Breaking of bonds is not an easy task. So the bonds must need something. Compounds can't be broken easily, so we have to supply energy so that bond can be broken. So what type of energy we have to supply? We have to supply energy in the form of heat, in the form of light. It can be sunlight also, or with the help of electricity also, right? So that bonds can broke down. Like if I say, if I'm taking calcium and carbonate, so there must be some bond between them, right? So we have to break that bond. How can we break it? By supplying heat. So in this way, there are different types of decomposition reaction. If I talk about combination here, in that reaction, new compound is formed, new bonds are formed. So for forming new bonds, when new bonds are formed, so they are formed, they are formed with evolution of heat, because the bonds are forming. Here the bonds are breaking. So when the bonds are breaking, they need the supply of energy that can be in the form of heat, light or electricity. So talking about heat, light and electricity, we will divide decomposition reaction into further three types. Decomposition reaction into three types. One is thermal decomposition. Second one is photolytic, or we can say photolysis. Third one is electrolysis. I will prefer lysis as a suffix. So thermal means, as you know, thermal means heat. So it must be happening when we supply heat in this reaction. So this reaction occur in the presence of heat. When we supply the heat, then only this reaction is possible. Photolysis, photo means light. As you must have heard about photosynthesis. It means it is the reaction which happens in the presence of sunlight. Photo means sunlight. So this reaction happens when there is a supply of sunlight. Next is electrolysis. Electrolysis means there must be some connection of electricity. So there must be some passage of electricity, or this reaction must be occurring when you are supplying the electricity, right? So this reaction happens in the presence of electricity. So these are all the three types of decomposition reaction. One is thermal decomposition, then is photolysis or photolytic decomposition, you can say. Third one is electrolysis. This process is called electrolysis, or the reaction is electrolytic decomposition. This can be also pronounced as photolytic decomposition. So one by one we'll be going to study about the types of decomposition. Let's start with the first one, thermal decomposition. First one, it's your thermal decomposition reaction, right? So thermal decomposition, first example we can take of the limestone, right? Limestone, when we will heat, when we supply heat, reverse reaction is also possible. So when we heat, this is a symbol of heat, triangle shape symbol. This is a symbol of heat. So when we supply heat, when limestone When we supply heat to the limestone, then the bond between them will break. So when the bond will break, there is an evolution of gas as CO2 is already out. So one O is left over here because two O's are already out. So one O with calcium, it will form calcium oxide. So this is called quicklime. As you can see, the reverse reaction happened when we were doing combination reaction, where we were discussing that limestone is formed when we combine quicklime with carbon dioxide, right? Because when we pour lime water or slaked lime on the walls, it will dry up. After getting dry, it will be converted into this form, and then it combines with CO2 to form this as well. So reverse reaction is also possible. Reverse reaction would be combination, and the forward reaction would be your decomposition. So next is, you must have done the experiments in your chemistry lab of heating ferrous sulfate crystals, right? So ferrous sulfate crystals, heating them means you are supplying heat to them. So that reaction involves the breaking of bonds. So when the bonds break, it results in the production of something new. Also lead nitrate. When we heat lead nitrate, so then there must be some products which will be discussed and which will come in this reaction only, that is thermal decomposition. So first one is hydrated salts. Hydrated salts means when water molecules are attached with the compound. So when we talk about ferrous sulfate, so in the hydrated form, it would be like this. So when we will heat it, so firstly we will convert into anhydrous salt. Now it, as you can see, water is attached with it, so it is in hydrated salt form. So when we'll heat them, so this water would be separated. How? Like this: iron sulfate plus 7 water. So this is anhydrous form. This is generally white in color, anhydrous salt. So when we will further heat this iron sulfate, let's say I am heating it again, because we have to break this bond. Initially though we just separate the water molecules from it by heating. So again I have to heat this compound. So when we will heat it, so firstly SO2, SO3 would be formed, and one more thing is iron oxide, Fe2O3. So this iron oxide, the color of iron oxide is reddish brown. Reddish brown. Iron oxide is formed when you will heat this green color of ferrous sulfate by thermal decomposition reaction. It will form iron oxide, sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide. So this is an example of thermal decomposition reaction. Next we'll talk about lead nitrate. Lead nitrate. Lead nitrate. Okay, so when we will heat it, it is colorless actually. Okay, it is colorless. It is a salt which is colorless. So when we will heat it, so firstly though nitrogen dioxide and oxygen gas would be released. The brown fumes start forming, reddish brown fumes starts forming over the test tube which you will take, in which you will pour this lead nitrate. When you will heat it, so slowly you will observe that reddish brown fumes will start forming, which indicates the presence of nitrogen dioxide gas. That means the reddish brown fumes are formed when nitrogen dioxide gas is evolved. Apart from this, that lead oxide would be formed. This is lead oxide and the color of lead oxide is yellow. So this is also thermal decomposition reaction. you can balance it. If you don't want to balance, you can leave it, because you can when you are asked to balance, then you can balance, otherwise you can leave it like this. So this lead nitrate, when you will heat it, it will form lead oxide, nitrogen dioxide and oxygen, and this reaction also occurred in the presence of heat, so it is called thermal decomposition reaction. Okay, next, moving onwards to the our next reaction, that is photo decomposition reaction. Second type is photolytic decomposition or photo decomposition. Students, these days, so there is so much advancement in technology that we usually prefer mobile phones to click, DSLRs, we have reel cameras, right, to make the videos, to capture the videos, to click the pictures, right? So but in previous time there were no such cameras. So there were reel cameras. The camera will, the reel come out from that camera. So that reel has basically a compound which is made up of silver bromide. That reel, that photographic film is basically made up of silver bromide. So when we keep it open, when we expose that silver bromide to sunlight, so there is a bond breaking. There's a bond breaking that takes place. You know what is bond breaking? Basically, when you will expose that silver bromide to sunlight, it results in the formation of a film. Negative image, which you will call negative image, is formed, right? But we want positive image. So what we have to do? When you will dip that image to the solution, that is called sodium thiosulfate solution. Sodium thiosulfate solution, when you will dip that negative image into sodium thiosulfate solution, so then a positive image will appear. So as you expose more and more to sunlight, if you expose this film more and more to sunlight, so the image would be more clear. So more and more image, bright image would be formed. So initially it was negative image. So when you will dip it into the sodium thiosulfate solution, so a positive image, sensitive image is formed, and then you would be able to see your images which you have clicked in your cameras. In old times, these photographic film cameras were so much in use. So as this reaction, if we'll see this film, what that film is made up of, it is made up of silver bromide. Okay, so when you will expose it to sunlight, so what will form? Silver along with bromine. Okay, so the negative image is formed, right? So this is also an example of decomposition reaction, because the bond between silver and bromine break down, and what helps in breaking it down? The sunlight. More and more exposure to sunlight, more and more bonds will break and images would form. Okay, so next also you can take another example of another compound, that is silver chloride. Silver chloride, when you will expose it to the sunlight, so what will form? This is a white salt, so it will form silver, and along with the evolution of chlorine gas. So this silver is actually silver in color. So the bond between silver and chlorine will break, and silver and chlorine would be formed. So this is also an example of photolytic decomposition reaction. Okay, so let's study about electrolytic decomposition reaction. So as you can see the setup over here, this is a beaker, and the water is filled in this beaker along with some electrolyte. As you know that pure water cannot conduct electricity, distilled water cannot conduct electricity. So we have to pour 2 to 3 drops of sulfuric acid into it, because acids are good conductor of electricity. So this is called electrolyte, which we will pour into this beaker. So when we mix it with water, So then this solution becomes a good conductor of electricity. So as you can see, the two test tubes, and we have tilted them onto the carbon electrodes or carbon rods. So this one terminal is negative terminal, which is also called cathode, and the positive terminal is called anode. These are made up of carbon rods, and I have connected these two terminals with the battery, and there is a switch also. So here this is a complete setup where we will supply the electricity, and we will see that what all changes can occur. Okay, what will be formed when you will pass the electricity, what products are formed when we pass on the electricity reaction. So the cold drinks which you drink, there are different type of cold drinks which you prefer. So why they taste sour? There is some sourness in that because there is some dissolved carbon dioxide in that. So it contains carbonic acid. So carbonic acid, so when it breaks down, it will produce water and carbon dioxide gas. So when you will open the cap of that cold drink, so the gas came out of that bottle. So what is that actually? It is carbon dioxide gas. What is stored in the cold drink? That is carbonic acid, the dissolved carbon dioxide gas that mixed up with the liquid. Another example is of liquid ammonia. Liquid ammonia. So this liquid ammonia, in the presence of sunlight, it decomposes to ammonia and water. So this is also an example of decomposition reaction. The third one is hydrogen peroxide. This compound is very sensitive to sunlight. So when hydrogen peroxide, H2O2, when it is exposed to sunlight, so it will also break down and results in the production of water and oxygen. So these all are some applications of decomposition reaction in the sodas, in the cold drinks. So this carbonic acid is stored in the liquid ammonia, which is also used as a fertilizer for the plants. Plants uses it because the liquid form of ammonia, liquid form of nitrogen is a protein for the plants. So when it is exposed to sunlight, it will form ammonia and water. Hydrogen peroxide is very sensitive to sunlight. It will form water and oxygen. So next we will talk about the electrolytic decomposition reaction. Electrolytic decomposition, the reactions that occurs in the presence of electricity by the supply of electricity, is called electrolytic decomposition. We will study this by one experiment. Yes, so when we pass the electricity, so we will see that the level of water in this beaker starts reducing. Okay, and how will we test that something is happening? How will we come to know that yes, this gas is releasing, this gas is forming? How will we come to know? So if we will see the formation of bubbles on the test tube. There is an accumulation of bubbles. Bubbles will start forming when the amount of gases start mixing with each other. Why? Because there is a flow of ions. There is a flow of ions due to the passage of electricity. The water, the compound that is water, break down, and when it will break down, as you know, so water dissociate and form H positive and OH negative ions, right? So when it dissociates, then we will see that the H positive ions, hydrogen gas, start depositing in the cathode side, negative end, and oxygen gas start depositing to the anode end. How will we come to know that it is hydrogen gas or it is oxygen gas? So we will take a test tube. We will take we will take the burning candle near the mouth of the test tubes, right? So when we take burning candle to this side, to the cathode tube, then a pop sound start producing. Pop sound. So that pop sound gives us the results that yes, hydrogen gas is there in this test tube, because hydrogen gas burns with the pop sound. Okay, so how will you come to know about oxygen gas? So when we'll take the burning candle near the mouth of this test tube, we will see that the flame become more bright. The flame turns more bright, as we know that oxygen is a supporter of combustion. So obviously, as it is a supporter, so when we pass on the oxygen and when we'll take it to the flame will turn more bright. So this indicates the presence of hydrogen and oxygen gas in the whole circuit. So what actually happens? So when water break down in the presence of electric current, so hydrogen will deposit at one end and oxygen will deposit at one end, and the volume of hydrogen and oxygen is 2:1. So as you can see, twice of hydrogen means the volume is 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. So this is the volume. In this way, electrolytic decomposition takes place, and this whole process is called electrolysis, which is accompanied by the electrolyte, by the electrodes. These are the two kind of electrodes which we dipped into the electrolytic solution. So when we dip both of them, then we see that there are the formation of gases. Matlab, different amount of gases starts accumulating in both of these test tubes. So this means that electrolytic decomposition reaction occurs over here. So there is one more thing. You can also do the reaction like if you will mix salt with water. When salt combines with water in the presence of electricity, so it will form NaOH twice. NaOH, this is molten form of NaCl, because here you passed water, you added water into it, so it is converted into molten form. So there is a formation of sodium hydroxide along with the release of hydrogen and chlorine gas. So hydrogen, obviously it's a positive thing, so hydrogen would be formed at this end and chlorine would be released at this end, and this would be out from the chamber with time. So basically here also you can see that, so this reaction NaCl will act as an electrolyte. So when you will pass or mix it with water, so it will decompose into NaOH, which is an alkali sodium hydroxide base, along with hydrogen and chlorine. And also when you can heat, you can also heat it alone. So when you will pass electricity, by supplying electricity, the bond between Na and Cl will break and sodium would be separated from chlorine. This chlorine will start depositing at anode side and sodium will start depositing at the cathode side. So this is also an example of electrolytic decomposition reaction. So today in this class we have studied the differences between combination and decomposition. Combination reaction, two atoms or elements or compounds combine together to form a product. Here the new bond is formed, so it is supported by the evolution of heat or light, right? Because something new is forming, so heat and light is out. Decomposition reaction, where a compound bond break down by the supply of heat, light or electricity, so that is called decomposition reaction. So the reaction which occurs in the presence of heat is called thermal decomposition, in the presence of sunlight, photodecomposition, and in the presence of electricity, that is called electrolytic decomposition. I hope the differences or these two reactions are clear to you. And students, we would be doing more types in the upcoming videos. And also, if you want live classes, if you want daily classes, then please download my app that is given in the description box. Download it from there, from the link. The classes will start soon. very soon from my app. You can download the app, and also you will get the latest updates from there about live classes, about assignments and notes. So I hope you like the class. If you have any doubts, you can put it down in the comment section. Thank you.